Here today with another interview. We got Tom here, the owner of Salt and Smoke, here in Del Mar Loop, and they've got another location. I just want to say thank you for sitting down, giving us the time. Would you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your background, and just so they can get a feel for who you are?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tom Schmidt. I started Salt and Smoke in June of 2014, but as I was telling JP earlier, it wasn't originally Salt and Smoke. Originally it was a restaurant I opened called Nico. That was a Mediterranean kind of nicer dining, more, I wouldn't say formal, but closer to that. We handmade our own breads and cheeses and handmade pastas and things like that. A nice curated wine list, and we thought that the Loop really needed a place like that. We took over for a place that was called Brant's, and they always had nice wine lists, and Riddles had just closed, and they always had really nice food. And so I was like, well, that place is missing from the Loop. This is going to be perfect. And actually, I'll back up a little bit further. My first restaurant I opened in 2006, that was called Franco, and that was a fine dining French restaurant in Soulard. That place was great. It won Best New Restaurant by every publication in town when we opened. This when you were in grade school, so you would never have a clue about it. We got reviewed by the Wall Street Journal, by the New York Times. Like it was a great place. So that was open for about 8 years, and then I decided to, or I guess 7 years, and then I decided to open Nico, which was a little bit more casual version of that restaurant that, like I said, I thought would really fit well into this area. That the Loop needed that, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Like it was an absolute bust. I can get into all the reasons why it didn't work, but ultimately I read the room wrong. I didn't see it clearly what needed to be here, and over that 2 years that we were open, lost about $500,000, which is a lot of scratch. I was born to 2 school teachers. That's not like something that we come up with
right
very easily, and so it was all out on credit. I was sinking, and it was going really bad, and I was trying to decide what to do with my life, and I think this is this is a big part of entrepreneurship, is that there's no network. If you own your own business, you only eat what you kill, right? And so if it's not working, you got nothing else. And I ran into this hard spot where, because we weren't doing business, I couldn't afford to hire the best people, which means I was falling down this kind of slippery slope of like, okay, well, my first chef wasn't working out. Well, then we weren't that busy, so then I couldn't really recruit a great chef. That meant that the product got worse. That then meant that my business got worse, and it was like everything compounded in a negative way. So anyway, flash forward, I tried as hard as I could, 7 days a week. At one stretch, I worked every single day for 12 hours for 6 months, and I couldn't even pay myself a penny. Like it was hard, but you can't give up. You have to be tenacious. You're the only one responsible when you're the head of your company that you're starting. It all falls on your shoulders, and so you're the only one that can figure it out. And so I was able to convince some family members. They felt bad for me. Most likely, well, not even most likely, certainly they just felt bad for me to invest $30,000 to loan me $30,000 so I could buy a smoker, which was like $15,000, and then flip the restaurant for the remainder of that budget. Which is, I don't know if you've ever opened a restaurant, but it generally costs a few $100,000. So this is a hard deal. So and we were in operation in Nico, and so what I figured I could do was, as long as I kept the same legal entity, all the licenses were all the same, I was just changing the DBA, doing business as named Salt and Smoke, so I was able to just repaint, refigure the kitchen a little bit, change the awning, change the sign, and buy the smoker and flip the restaurant. I mean, there's a lot more that went into it than that. But that I had this opportunity, and so I convinced them. I said, look, this failed lost $500,000. We can close it and just be out that money. But if you can lend me 30 grand and compartmentalize your experience and investing in this restaurant, think about it like you're opening a restaurant for $30,000. You'll never have a chance to do that again, right? And that's another part of entrepreneurship. You're generally, unless you're independently wealthy going into it, you got to convince somebody else to give you some money, and you got to sell that. I mean, and you have to believe it yourself. But here's a hard thing to ask people to do, and I had to present it in a way like, look, you'll never be. What a great opportunity! You'll never be able to open a restaurant for 30 grand. Like, we're right in the Loop. We're at the corner of Main and Main. You couldn't get a better spot than this. We'll never get a better spot than this. The problem was I read the room wrong, but I think I got the fix for that. So just worked my tail off getting Salt and Smoke conceptualized and built, get the recipes locked down, and since we were so broke, we couldn't be closed for a weekend because we needed those sales to pay the electric bill. So we stayed open for dinner on Saturday, June 7th, and then reopened on Friday, June 13th for lunch. Closed the whole restaurant 5 minutes, and then that day we served 400 people, sold out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we've been off to the races ever since.
That's awesome. So that's a huge turnaround. I have a lot of questions just based off that story. So I just want to clarify, the very first business before Nico, that was a very successful business, right?
Yeah.
You said New York Times. So awesome. So when you went from having that super successful business to a business that was failing, like how did that affect your mindset and your ego, your confidence?
Yeah, here's the other thing about entrepreneurship is that it's an extension of you, right? So for me, this was, I was very egotistical. Franco had won every best new restaurant and everything. Nico actually did too. Won best new restaurant in the Riverfront Times and a couple other things, So it wasn't like he did it terrible. It was just a horrible fit for the neighborhood, and it didn't appeal to a lot of people. You got to understand your market. And so, I felt really high on myself about Franco and that I knew how to do this and that I was really talented at it. And then when you do poorly at it, well, it's not just this business is failing, it's Tom Schmidt is a failure. My ideas are bad, the extension of myself is bad, and it's hard. It really screws with you. And that's another layer, to digging, when I was talking about you can't afford the best talent and all that stuff, well, that's another layer. When you get in that downward spiral of it, it's really hard to trust your instincts because you're like, man, I'm dumb. I screwed up. You're working so much that you don't have time or energy to think about the way out or to reconceptualize or to really stare yourself in the mirror and understand what you got wrong without thinking that you're going to screw everything up from then on out. I mean, it's a really difficult time. But if you have the tenacity and you're thinking clearly and trusting, one of the things that I learned most about myself is that I was trying to do this thing where I was listening to feedback from all kinds of people. I listened to this big New York City urban planning advisor, and had come and did a study for the Loop, and they said they needed a place like this for the Loop. My family had thought, they live in New City, we grew up in New City, they're like, oh, all of our friends want a nice wine place to go. I was trying to crowdsource what the solution was, what the path forward was. And what I learned is that though it's important to listen to feedback and get it, I wasn't trusting my instincts. And so a month into us opening Nico, I had actually gone to my family and said, I got this wrong. I need to change this. And I talked to some other restaurant owner friends. They all said, no, you just tweak this, do this menu item, give it some time, blah, blah, blah. And what I was wrong about is that's just not accurate. If you're really paying attention, you're really looking yourself in the mirror, and you're putting the correct amount of thought into it, you need to believe in yourself and trust your own instincts. once I started trusting my own instincts, that's when I was able to start growing and figure out the right path forward instead of listening to what other people think you should do. And that's probably not the right. It's probably not what they teach you in a book, you know, that get all the information you can, listen to the experts and blah, blah, blah. But man, the more I think about it, the more I get to know other CEOs and entrepreneurs, it really is, you got to trust your instincts and believe it. Don't dilute your idea based on what other people think is successful or will be successful, because they're not the ones running it. They're not the ones that get to the heart of it. And you know, you're gonna crash on the rocks every once in a while, but as a good buddy of mine, and my first investor told me, for Franco, that successful restaurant, he said people always come to you all the time and say, you got to do this, or you should do that, or you should do this. And what he would always tell them is, you know what? I'd rather go broke on my own ideas. Thank you very much. You know? Yeah. You know, like, chances are most businesses don't succeed, right? But you gotta trust your own instincts, and if you're gonna fight for it, and possibly go broke, you gotta do it with the best of what you think is the best idea, not what somebody else tells you.
You want to be 100% sold on it, so you want to be able to, you know, go in the way you need to.
Yeah.
100%.
For sure.
So you've been in business for a while now.
Yeah.
I think you said 2006 or something
2006,
like that?
yeah.
Was that your first business, or did you have any entrepreneurial ventures before that? Like, what kind of got you on entrepreneurship?
So, no, that was the first business that I owned. I was a young man at the time. I started when I was 25. I'd gone to Indiana University's business school, at that school they had this great thing called, I don't know if they still do it. I don't really think that do it, unfortunately. But this thing called I-Core, where the capstone course is basically a group of 4 people get together and create a business, marketing plan, strategy plan, financial plan, operations plan, all of it. You know, it's like a 400-page document. You work on it for a year, like all of it, as if you were actually doing it. So when I was recruiting investors initially, I had done this business program plan, and I always had this beard, so I looked older, and you know, put a lot of damn work into it and presented this guy with this business plan who's a very wealthy guy, who I'd met just, I was an assistant manager at a different restaurant. He used to go there, and the owners of that restaurant were looking to open another restaurant, and I worked my tail off, and they wanted to bring me in as one of their partners, and it didn't work out that way because they weren't including me in the conversations that an owner would be included in. So I was just a guy that was going along with whatever they were doing, and I was just, you know, at that point I was just like, well, this isn't even really me. I'm just gonna be their assistant with whatever, I guess. Yeah, and so it didn't work, and it wasn't gonna work. So I reached out to him independently, and I presented this thing, and he's like, "This is great. This is great. I'm never gonna fucking read a word of it, but the fact that you wrote a 120-page business plan, and like I can leaf through it and see that you like care and are thoughtful and know what you're doing, that, you know, all right, so what are we gonna do?" He's like, "I'm not gonna read it." And it's funny. So this, you know, all this schooling and all of this work on this business plan, and you know, the guy that takes the shot on me, takes the chance on me, tells me flat out, I'm never gonna read a word of it. But it still did what it was supposed to do, right? Like, it sharpened my mind to what I wanted to do, and it convinced him that I had a plan that he would be willing to invest in, whether he read it or not. And it could have all been gibberish, but you know, but that's it. It ended up in the trash, you know, that afternoon. So I don't even know what we're talking about now. I'm just kind of far afield.
No, you're fine. So the question I like to ask people is, how do you define an entrepreneur? What's your definition of an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't even know what the textbook definition would be, but it's somebody that starts and runs their own business, whatever that whatever that is. And so that can be, you know, like right now there's this Mannequins in the Loop art project, which Audra runs that. She's great. And it's a not-for-profit. It's not like a business that she's making money off of. She has a real, you know, she has a normal job where she makes money. But I view that as an entrepreneurial exercise because she's creating it and operating it and finding the funds and donations to get it going. Versus, you know, or like friends of mine that start apps. You know, it's all the same thing. It's all the same get up and go spirit, self-starter that's willing to go out and take a risk to create something. Whether it's money-based or not, you're still, you know, if you're out there creating, you know, a good friend of mine started a special program for advising students in public schools in the city, right? And so he started this program where he's helping to advise students in different meaningful ways. And I mean, you know, it's not like a money-making thing, it's his job. It's not like it has multipliers or anything like that, but it's an entrepreneur as a result of that. So I guess, you know, it can take a lot of different forms, but it's just having the vision to create something new and execute.
Definitely, no, I like that. That's the reason why I like to ask that question, because a lot of people, when they think entrepreneur, you know, they think big business, nice fancy cars, but it doesn't always have to be that. Like you said, somebody who has a vision to put time, energy, resources into.
We're on a busy street.
Very busy street. Yeah, sorry about that. Just somebody who's willing to put in the time and energy to make that idea come to fruition.
Yeah,
for sure, 100%. I think we're in agreement.
Have you listened to Freakonomics did that series, The Secret Life of the CEO?
I haven't.
You got to listen to it right away. It's about a 6-part series that Freakonomics did a podcast on about the Secret Life of CEO. It's really phenomenally done. But they have a lot of great tidbits in there, and one of them is that, you know, there's something like 8 million businesses in the United States, and like 7.95 million of those businesses have exactly one employee. You know, like most companies overwhelmingly are just one individual outfit. Which just means there's such a great diversity of ideas and talent and, you know, startup energy that people are willing to take onto themselves. And the big, glitzy, glamorous company that you're talking about is like less than 1% of the businesses out there. That's not how it works for most people. You know, I think a lot of people aspire to that, but the reality is it's gritty. Like, you're fighting. You're like, you know. It's kill or be killed, and it's eat what you kill, and you know, none of it is glitzy. There are parts that are. I don't think there can be anything that can be more fulfilling or more like just exuberant than when it's going well and you swam out as far as you could swim and you started drowning and you find your footing. There's nothing better in the world than that, but to get there, you gotta fucking drown. You know what I'm saying? You gotta almost lose it to get there, and it's all grit. You know, that's it.
So if you had one piece of advice that you could give to an upcoming entrepreneur, and I think you've given a lot of great like golden nuggets, but if you could just pick one piece of advice, what would it be?
It's trust your instincts. I mean, it really is, and that's all it can be. That's what, you know. Even if you're borrowing other people's ideas or a conglomeration. I'm not saying you have to create the wheel, you know. But when you see an angle, you got to take it and you got to be aggressive towards it and trust your instincts, and that's it. Now, not everybody's talented enough to make that work, and you got to. You know, if that's not your thing, everybody's in this class because they, you know, either they believe they are, they want to see if they are that right person, or maybe they just want to study it as an academic exercise, which is possible. But you know, it's an open market, and you know, the best rises to the top, and everybody's trying to get there. So it's cutthroat. It really is. But you got to trust your instincts and hope that they're better than other people.
100%. So earlier you mentioned the Freakonomics podcast.
Yeah.
So I know you graduated a while ago. Do
Yeah.
you still consistently kind of do self-education, or you like reading any books, listening to different podcasts?
Sure. Yeah. You know, so the day we flipped from Nico to Salt and Smoke, that June 13th, 2014, we had 12 employees, and now we have over 200, and we're getting ready to expand to a third spot, so we'll have over 300 employees in like 6 months, right? And the skill set that it takes to run that appropriately is totally different than that skill set of bussing tables 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for months on end, you know? And I guess this is the takeaway too, is, you know, nobody comes out of the womb with the understanding of how to run a company of 300. Nobody comes out of the womb understanding how to structure the finance of a deal to make sure that you don't get burned on the back end of it, or to read a lease to make sure you know the carve-outs that your landlord's trying to stick to you. You know, like, nobody comes out of the womb with this knowledge. So as the problems arise and as you see the vision for where your growth needs to go, sure as hell need to figure out the best way to do it and study it and figure out ways to solve your problems, because there's going to be new ones all the time. Whether it's problems of growth and what's needed there to grow effectively, or your world around you changes and you need to adapt to it. Once again, you're too young, I guess, I would think, but 2007 and 8, they shut down Highway 40 for 2 years. You weren't even driving it back then. But at the fine dining French restaurant, all my customers lived in West County. They all lived in Ladue, and they're driving down to Soulard. Well, everything downtown died for 2 years, and having to, not through anything we did wrong as a business plan. It wasn't like I wasn't making the right food anymore, wasn't selling for the right price or offering great service. It was just the world around us changed in a way that totally screwed over everybody. And you have to, you really have to, once again, look at yourself in the mirror, study your situation, understand exactly what's going on, and then find the pressure point to adjust, to make the biggest impact, to make it most successful. Yeah.
Do you think you've always had that habit, that character trait of just reflecting on yourself and kind of that self-assessment?
No.
It sounds like it's been pivotal, to your success here. So how did you develop that?
No, out of necessity. I don't want to sugarcoat this. I mean, I barely got through college. The only reason why I got into a good college was because I took so many music courses in high school that it inflated my GPA. I shouldn't have been, I wasn't a hardworking guy in school, and I wasn't a very thoughtful or considerate person about this. But that stuff that I was talking about, and maybe this is why I'm just so keyed into the competitive kill or be killed situation, is because I've lived it, and it's changed my mind and changed the way I do things. And so that only came about through experience, and from knowing that if I don't do that, if I don't start finding those pressure points and those pivots, that's a buzzword for millennials. We made a pivot. But if you don't start looking for that and really figuring out where the balance lies and what needs to flip, then you're not going to be around. You're just not going to be around. So it wasn't something I always had, but it's something that I had to adapt to. It was another pivot.
Do you think that's what separates you from, the majority of businesses that start to fail within the first couple of years? Just that ability to adapt and change?
No, look, the only thing that saved me was that I had a network from my family that allowed to give me another shot. That people were willing to, sell some of their 401k to give it a chance. And it's really scary to ask somebody that. But the reality is, without help, it didn't matter how many great ideas I had, I wouldn't have had a shot, So that's it, that's the biggest pivot. And so people that don't have that resource have to be even more shrewd and just hungry and, just stay hungry and not give anything for granted. I mean, it's not like there was any lack of hunger on my side. Like I was hungry, but it would have all fallen apart if people wouldn't have gambled on me. They only did it as a favor to their little brothers, you know?
Yeah. So I'm gonna, last question, I know you're a busy guy. When you were in that period, you know, when everything was sinking and, you know, there was just a lot of uncertainty, what was it that kept you going forward? Because I know, like, when you have those second thoughts and those fears, those can get in the way and kind of jam you up.
Yeah.
So how did you keep yourself from getting in your own way?
I mean, I used to always feel like the business was like relentless, like the surf, like just like the surf. The wave would just keep on coming, it would never stop, you know. And I guess so. I don't know. That was just the way we were raised. I mean, you know, to always work and it's always your responsibility. You know, never take the easy way out.
Right.
If it's harder to do, that's probably the way you should do it. You should probably do it the harder way because you know it's the right way, and that was it. And yeah, you just can't give up. I don't know. It's just myself and all my siblings are all entrepreneurs. We all never stop fighting. You know, that's it. That has to be it. So, you know, I wasn't ready to quit. I wasn't ready to give up. They would ask me, my family would be like, "This isn't working. When will you just give up and say that, you know, this didn't work and just give up?" I said, when I can't think of another option on something that will work, that might save it, that's when I'll give up. When I don't have an idea, when I'm standing here going, I'm just clueless, I don't know what to do, that's when I hang it up. But as long as I can think clearly, even if it takes, you know, 1 million man hours to get it done, but I think this might get it done, well then you just gotta do it.